This is the Game Gestures Gaming Update Podcast, here with our special episode 10. We've made it all the way through to 10 now, and we've got quite a bit of news to go through with you. So we're here with your hosts, Angrod and Shamrock, as usual. So we have a few things touching on some old games, some betas, and we're going to touch on some new topics that are going on now. So we're going to dive in here really quick with what's been going on with a really old game that just had a spin-off story, and now in the summer it's coming out with a whole new reboot of it. And a lot of you, if you were the whole 90 Kid meme all over again, if you were born in the 90s, you'll remember this one really well, but it was Neopets. So let's jump in with they just came out with a little side story. Came out just, I believe, the 17th it was. What was the name of it? It was Neopets Legends and Letters. It's a side spin-off story, just like a little story game. And then I believe it was summer. We don't have the official date yet of when it comes out, but there will be the Neopets Reboot. So what do you think about this?
I was hearing July for this. I was hearing July 29th, because I did just read an article on this, and they were... The thing is, here's the main thought. I think it's going to interest... First of all, Neopets is going to be 20 years old this year, which...
Wow.
To me... it blows my mind, because I can't believe... I look back and think, wow, I really was on Neopets 18 years ago. And...
Yeah. Time flew.
Yeah, so... and I spent so much time and energy just on that side. So I think for 90s kids and early 2000s kids, it's going to be wonderful. And I think that's probably the target demographic. Now, I know they did say, as far as the whole thing, they're going to be slowly eliminating the actual Neopets website. They said they're going to mostly be converting your existing data and moving it over to the mobile platform. So eventually the whole website will kind of just be I guess, a promotional tool for the app.
It does make sense that they want to be shutting, if they're coming out with the app, they want to shut down the website and move on. And the apps are easier to manage than the websites nowadays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because now, especially when most of their traffic is going to be from the app, a lot of people aren't. If you look, I don't even know if Club Penguin is still a thing, to be honest with you. And I know that for a while was big, but I don't know if that's even a website anymore, because that was kind of like the 2010s version of Neopets, if you will. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to try it out. I'm definitely going to try it out. I'm going to neglect my Neopets like I did back in the past. Nothing's going to change, and it's going to...
I mean, maybe the first month I'll dive in really hard, and then I'll realize, well, yeah, this was fun, but... Well, no. Maybe they'll spice it up a bit.
Let me rephrase that, though. If they have the same games they had back in the day, I haven't been on it in ages, so I know there was games I was addicted to. There was one that was kind of like a snake knockoff, and there was the weekly contest, which was Better Than You, where you had to try to get the highest score. And then there was one with these little balloons or bombs that you had to burst. Those were the ones I was addicted to. I don't know if you remember any of those, or if you had a favorite game on there, but those were mine. If they include those, I am sold.
I don't remember them all. I kind of remember them. I remember there was one, it was like a combat-like one. You'd go through these levels fighting using your own Neopet to fight through the level, but I can't remember anything else about it. It's been too long now.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it holds up to the test of time, or if it ends up being a big flop. I guess we'll see. But that's to be determined in the summer. I know some people are looking forward to it. A lot of people aren't very happy with the spin-off game right now because they want the main game. So people want it. So we'll see how it does. But I don't know. Well, it's only time will tell.
Yeah. So
I mean, moving on from, unless you had something else to add to that.
No, I was moving on too. I'm just
going to say moving on from Neopets there.
Just a little update here about anyone who's been keeping up and following with Elder Scrolls, their Skyrim game. They're not done with it yet. They had it. God. They remastered it. They brought it out. They keep doing more things. Now they're coming out with a big mod for it, allowing it to be Skyrim Online, allowing you to enter the world of Skyrim with 8 players and go through, which would be highly interesting to see how that will work out. But
why don't they just do a mobile game at this point? Skyrim Go.
They saw how Blizzard did with their mobile games, so they know better.
But maybe like a Pokemon Go type game with Skyrim.
Nah, they know better to avoid early April Fool's jokes.
But that was funny because it was an April Fool's joke, but it ended up being one of the biggest games of all time, mobile games of all time. So that funny how that works, but
Yeah. So that's just it for the beta will come out for the Skyrim Online soon, but they're having problems with it, and it's expected to come out a little after the beta, but they don't have a set date yet because the modders are still working on it and they're still having a little trouble. It turns out turning a game into online is actually a lot of work.
well, I'm glad you actually mentioned that because speaking of online and bad betas, we had two betas that happened over the course. There was last weekend. We had Dead or Alive 6 beta. Now, I don't know if you had a chance to play that or not. It wasn't terrible. There was some slight lag issues because you do have the whole when you have the whole peer to peer kind of thing. Lag is going to be a big thing, especially in betas. But the game played well enough. That was a good one. It didn't. It wasn't terrible. It looked great and it played well. Just some small lag issues. I didn't have problems with that one. The one I had problems with, the Jump Force beta that was this weekend.
Ah, yes, another one I missed out on.
Yeah, it was supposed to still be going on. There was supposed to be another testing time tonight and tomorrow, but they actually Bandai was like, no, we're gonna have to delay it because basically what had happened was a lot of people were having issues getting connected to a match. The online was completely overloaded and there was major lag issues for that, and a lot of people are complaining about it, but I don't think they understand the whole point of a beta is to get these bugs worked out.
That's what I go through every time with the beta that comes out like this. I say, this is the point to see that it has this problem before launch and be like, oh, now we know we got to fix this. And that's the whole purpose of it. So that's good. Now they can see what they need to fix. And
well,
then
that's what I was saying
beta.
with Dead or Alive, they didn't have that many issues. So that was almost pretty much at the point where it's ready to go, minus a couple of lag issues that they got to fix with, big input lag for some of the early matches, but that was mostly okay. But with this Jump Force beta, it was kind of the complete opposite. And I think Bandai, they realized that, so they took down it because they knew the online was just not working out. They said that they are gonna, look into a fix for it and relaunch the beta in the near future. So they will see what they can improve on, which is good. Which is exactly what the point of a beta is. And I think people need to realize that before they jump down these companies' throats and be like, your game is shit. No, this is what the point of a beta is. So,
Yep.
And, there was only one other beta that I wanted to bring up now that I was thinking about it. It was I don't know if this is really, I don't know, this is what this classifies as beta. Black Ops 4. Blackout Battle Royale is free from this week to the 24th.
Yeah, I guess I could count it as here. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it counts. It's definitely not really a beta, but I guess they're inviting you to get on board with it. So maybe in demo, more of a demo category.
But I mean, I might see that one. It's surprising how Call of Duty's still way up there, and like it just came out in November, I think, and it stole the most sold game of 2018.
Yeah, that's
in
great.
such a short time.
It's people come back to it for one reason or another. I'm not a fan myself. It doesn't do much for me, but people come back to it, and it's got appeal. So they know what they're doing with it. That's pretty much all I can say about that. But going from betas, we were talking about Jump Force. As you know, in Jump Force, there are Dragon Ball Z characters.
Yeah.
So now I know you have some Dragon Ball news to share as well as I have some Dragon Ball news to share. My Dragon Ball news is basically I know there was a new game that was launching. This got leaked back in October in like a Japanese magazine, as a lot of these things do get leaked that way. Dragon Ball Z card game, which is coming to Switch. It's called Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. Comes out on April 5th to Switch and PC. No news on Xbox One or PS4. It is a card game, so, depending how... The thing is with that Dragon Ball Z card game, like the actual... If you play the trading card game, it is hugely popular. if you go to the comic stores and the gaming stores where they do those little card, meetups,
Yeah.
that's one that's being played a lot. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to do, but I know you had some Dragon Ball Z news as well to share. So what do you got for that?
Yeah, mine's with the Dragon Ball Fighter Z game that came out a little while ago. So they're bringing it. They constantly keep adding updates, bringing new characters in, and now the big one that they're hinting at that people have been really big news is they're bringing fighters from Universe 11 to come into the game now. There's guess maybe it might be Jiren or Topa or something, but we don't know yet until the big reveal at the World Tour Finals at the end of this month on January 26th through the 27th is when we'll find out which Universe 11 characters come into the game.
So do you think we should keep our expectations low on that one, or should it be or do you think they're gonna drop a big bomb, or not bomb, like a big, like there's gonna be a big reveal? It's gonna get people talk. It's gonna get people back interested in the game if they weren't already interested.
Well,
Bring something to bring new players. What do you think it's gonna?
I think, Dragon Ball Fighter Z broke a lot of fighter records. I think they were the one who broke, I can't remember the game now, the game that won the record for every year it won the best fighter game. Dragon Ball Fighter Z stole that from it. So this game's way up there in top fighter game.
I'm gonna say Street Fighter just because that's the only game I could think of that's like regarded as being the pinnacle of fighting games. So if it's not Street Fighter, someone can correct us.
I know if I dig my notes up, it was in one of our early, like episode 2 or 3 podcasts. I mentioned this, but I don't want to dig through all that now. But we can. That's all I just want to bring up. That
someone else can dig through it for us, and then they can get back to us, and they could write in on our Facebook page, which is Gamer Jesters Podcast on Facebook, and they could write to us and not write to us, type to us, and be like, that's what it was, because we're too lazy to do the work. So
that could work.
But you were saying, Oliver, we're speaking of fighting games. I know Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out, and that is going to also be huge. I don't think it's going to take the title from Dragon Ball Fighter, but you never know. We got huge news with that. We have Ronda Rousey, the baddest woman on the planet, is voicing a character in that game.
Sonya Blade.
The recurring joke, though, is unfortunately that she's going to, much like she left UFC, she's going to have her character leave Mortal Kombat 11 and then just randomly appear in WWE 2K20.
That could work.
It's a funny joke. It's a stupid joke, but
Sonya Blade or Ronda herself?
I guess they were just trying to make the joke since Ronda's voicing her. They're going to have Sonya do that. I don't know.
Huh.
But
that'll add some spice to WWE. A little blood, a little gut removing, a little heart ripping out.
They said basically it's going to be a lot of people making fatality videos of Sonya just getting her head kicked off like Ronda did in UFC. So when she lost to Holly Helms or whatever her name was, and forgive me if that's the wrong name, but yeah, no. Well, so basically, yeah, Ronda's in that, and I think that's great because Ronda is a huge gamer. She's a huge geek. She's a huge Dragon Ball Z
that's
fan.
why I'm big on. She came out into the WWE wearing a Vegeta shirt, and that's where she won me over right there.
She had the over 9,000 shirt on, and she's big. She knows her stuff. She's a big geek. She knows a lot about Pokemon. She knows a lot about anime. All that kind of stuff. So I think she's a good fit for being a video game, and I'm going to have to hear it. But do you have anything else to share on that about Ronda Rousey appearing or something new? Because they did have a reveal yesterday, I believe.
2 days ago, actually.
2 days ago.
I watched those live on Twitch. I watched about half. It was 4 hours long. I watched about half of it, and it was really good. They've really focused on Sonya's part of it, showing off all of her fighting through the tournament and all that. And she was actually doing the opposite of what you were saying. She was the one doing the decapitation of the people.
Now, the question I have, though, is I didn't watch it. So is she included in the game automatically? Is she a pre-order bonus? Is she a DLC? What's the story?
As every Mortal Kombat, she's a base character. She's right there from the get-go. You can get her right away. She's not one of the added-in later ones.
Okay, so that's good, at least for people who are going to be looking forward to that they don't have to shell out the extra $5 for a character.
Yeah.
But you never know. So is it something... I mean, I'm on the fence about it. Like I said, I'm probably going to get it. I've always liked the Mortal Kombat series.
Yeah, I
Recent
actually.
years, it's been a little stale, but this looks like the one that
Oh,
might kind of reinvigorate it a bit.
9 was actually really good. I really like 9. I skipped 10 because I just didn't get time, but I really wanted the way 9 the story ended. I really want to see 10, so I have to get 10 before 11
Get
because I
10.
need to see the
11
story.
is coming out soon, so get 10 while you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna be jumping in there quick.
Speaking
But
of jumping in quick, if you're finished up with our Mortal Kombat discussion, I have
yeah,
a complete 180 for us all together.
yeah, we
It
can
would
move
be
on.
the Consumer Electronics Show, which took place last weekend, actually. I'm not sure. For those out there who don't know what the Consumer Electronics Show is, it's basically a huge technology show. It shows off all the latest technology from, all big companies, Sony, LG, people who make vacuums, dishwashers, all these giant companies whose names I cannot think of right now. They all had, they all have a presence there. But I'm going to focus on mostly the gaming news. And if you've heard any of this, feel free to add in what your input. But basically, one of the big highlights was something called the Roku. I keep wanting to say Roku in my head because I'm automatically, anytime I see ROK, I'm like Roku. But the did it again. Rokid project. There we go. It's a smart glasses company. Their biggest thing that they're trying to do is it's an AR kind of headset that kind of resembles like the Google Glass a little bit, but it's like a pair of sunglasses. So it's not
Hmm.
exactly like the Google Glass. But their big push is they're trying to get it on the Switch, and they think they can do it because it's USB-C supported. Which the thing I don't know about that though is how that's going to work because if the Switch is in the dock, you can't access the USB-C port. So I'm not sure if they're going to have a way to have it connect to the Switch natively or not. But basically, it's supposed to cost around the mid-range budget smartphone. It's got a 3D display, 45-degree binocular resolution thing going on, and two microphones, Bluetooth capable, and it's supposed to be a big thing. I didn't see much of it play, but I know they want to get it onto the Switch. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't think Nintendo's interested in that, honestly. But
Huh. Well, you never know with their new president changing the way things. They might, or they might not. He's going to look at it as more as a business thing. If it can bring in and
true.
improve, optimize things, he might go for it. But if he sees it
Uh,
as a more of a
Speaking of,
risk,
well, yeah, I think if it's a risk, they're obviously not going to do it. But that's who knows. Nintendo does take risks, so I don't know how to say and respond to that. But there is, speaking of headsets, HTC Vive. They're coming out with the Pro Eye, and this is a VR headset that tracks your eye movement and requires no controllers.
huh?
So it follows your eyes.
Interesting. I know they have those eye trackers. Like you always see that the YouTube now, the eye
Huh?
tracking challenge. If you've seen that going on yet, they have been working on these eye tracking a lot lately. So that'd be interesting to throw them into this headset now.
Yeah, they show that off, and it looks really interesting. The only question I have though is like, if you are a person who has like either one eye or like a glass eye, and you can't roll, your eyes because you have a glass eye, how is it gonna? I don't think it's gonna work. I don't know. I don't know how how
Think
advanced the technology is for that or is it capable of tracking one eye and then just replicating that on the other side? That I don't know.
it might be able to just take the one eye, but we'll have to wait till it comes out and see.
Well, that was one of the big ones. Another one is these already exist for the most part. Razer Turret for Xbox One. It's a $250 gaming keyboard, and it also has a sliding tray for a mouse, so you can emulate, playing on a. Some Xbox games do support this, some don't. But the difference with this is the first one of the first ones to be like completely wireless, whereas a lot of them evidently aren't. I don't know a lot about the gaming keyboards for Xbox and how they work on Xbox, but this one has a little sliding tray under it that you're supposed to be able to put your mouse on it, and you don't even have to worry about. You could just do it from the comfort of your lap, I guess. And
Hmm, that'd be
that
good.
was one of their big push. The one that I was kind of most excited for, not really excited for, but I thought was the coolest, was called Square Off, and it was a robotic chessboard. Basically, you can play against anyone in the world, or you can just play on the board itself. It uses like these little magnetic things in the board to control the chess pieces. So basically, if you and I were playing, we're both in different states. So if we're on our app and I make the chess move on my phone, it will move it on the board for me. And then when you do yours, both of our boards are going to show the movement.
Huh.
So it's a really cool looking thing. It's a little pricey. It's like $300 some, but it looks really cool. And you can play against anyone in the world. And it's a novelty, but I think it's cool. The technology is definitely cool with that. And
Yeah, it's great how these technologies moving up. I see.
I mean,
Like with that, they're using that same technology from that board. They're using it like businesses are getting that now too. But it's more exciting to use it for gaming, though.
I was gonna say, the places I've seen it, and I'm not trying to sound like perverted, does a lot of sex toy companies have been using that same technology. So it's interesting that it can kind of, be used, it can be used elsewhere, and it's not just, a different kind of pleasure, I guess, if you will. But the only other thing that was really cool about that, there was like a Pong table. You remember Pong?
Yeah.
It's a Pong coffee table, and it just basically had like a digital Pong display, and there's like these little knobs, and there's a Pong table. It was goofy looking, but it was cool. But the last highlight they had was the Zotac Mech Mini, as a small, sleek gaming PC. I know a lot of people who are looking to get gaming PCs, they don't really like the size because they're massive. This one is basically the equivalent of the size if you look at like the Wii. It's kind of got that size to it. So it's a small little,
That is
and it
tiny.
evidently fits all in, and it's supposed to be like, that's supposed to be no price or anything has been announced, but that's supposed to be the main selling point. So those were just some of the highlights from the Consumer Electronics Show.
If it
I just
has
think that's always
the size
interesting.
of a Wii and it has the power of a gaming PC, I imagine that's going to first cost a lot, but that would be really interesting to have.
I just don't know how, they're going to do that with making sure that things stay cool and don't overheat. If they can find a way to do that because if it's that small, my worry is the cooling system.
Yeah,
That's just my
that's
worry.
the biggest thing. They're making everything smaller, but they're losing more room for the heat to expand out, and that's one problem with a lot of consoles now overheating and everything because they're so crammed together. That's one
So
thing.
that's my concern with that.
Yeah, but
But
it could be good.
but speaking of Wii-like consoles and things that are the size of the Wii, our good friend Soulja Boy is back at it again.
Nice transition.
This time, after Nintendo Superman that hoe, he decided, not only I'm just going to go completely lazy, and I'm going to drop ship consoles that resemble the PS Vita that are only supposed to be like $33 on the Chinese knockoff websites, AliExpress and all the other ones, but
Yeah.
he's selling them on his website for $100. Soulja Boy, what the hell are you doing?
He needs to get that money back to make up for that Nintendo lawsuit.
I guess so. It didn't work out the first time, so Sony's going to go after him now. I don't know what he's doing.
He really doesn't understand what lawsuit means.
Oh my god. You're going to see him come out with like a really terrible song now, and it's going to just try to make up for, and people will eat it up. It will be terrible. But yeah, I can't take him seriously anymore. But speaking of lawsuits, that's another perfect example. We have Forza 4 Horizon. Is that what the game's called?
Yeah.
I don't follow the
Yeah.
Forza series, so correct me if I'm wrong.
You got it.
But they just removed the floss dance and the Carlton dance from there. I guess you could do the emotes before or after the races. I'm not familiar with how that works, but
it's like a little taunting system they have.
and so they removed. There was pressure, I guess, for them to remove those two dances. And the thing is, it's very hard these lawsuits for these dances are a little weird because it's very hard to actually copyright body movement.
Yeah, I mean, look at Fortnite when they took the dances and the people who made the dances came after them, and Fortnite won that because of that reason that you can't really copyright. It's hard to copyright dance moves, and Fortnite ended up winning, so they kept it. But
Because basically, we'd be in a situation where every time someone does the, they'd have to be paying royalties, and that just doesn't happen because it's very, very hard to copyright body movement because you can't. If there's a whole like legal reasoning behind it, but basically, these are just frivolous lawsuits that I don't think are going to get anywhere. Now, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if they did, get into that. But before we get into a completely different topic, I did want to mention we're talking about lawsuits and we're talking about controversial things. There was the whole Jesus Strikes Back game that was supposed to launch last week, on the 15th as an alpha. Evidently, there's a rumor going on around that the game might not be existing at all, and it's just some sort of marketing strategy for something else or some sort of publicity stunt to get awareness to that developer because allegedly last second the publisher pulled out and then they released a note saying, if we don't find a new publisher by the end of the month, we're going to just release ourselves.
I mean, it did strongly seem that way, judging by the law, the background check that we're getting and everything.
Yeah, so I'm at this point wondering if it's a real game or controversy, if it's just trying, a publicity. If it is a publicity stunt, what's it a publicity stunt for?
I'm not sure.
Question I don't have the answer to.
Yeah.
But so I know you had some movie news or something that you wanted to bring up.
Just one actually this week, but so after the big flop of the last Ghostbusters reboot, they've actually been working on a new movie that will take the place right after the original two. It's set to come out in summer of 2020. So,
who's returning? Is it an original? Is it the original cast? They're all still living.
That's the what's Jason Reitman, the director of it all. He isn't saying yet if Bill Murray and Dan and Ernie Hudson, if they'll be returning or not to the new movie, but he told Entertainment Weekly that we have a lot of wonderful surprises and new characters for the audience to meet. So
can we just agree that as long as Melissa McCarthy doesn't come back to it,
and that's headline right into the next topic. He said. He kind of made it like a little, the reboot was great. I like what they did with those actresses. It seemed a little forced, honestly. I don't think he really liked the movie either.
God.
He did mention right after that, he did say that the cast from the reboot will not make any cameos or appearances in this movie at all. So
the problem was I think it was at that point where they were just going on the bandwagon of we want to do an all-female reboot because right now female empowerment is a huge thing, and a lot of people want to jump on that bandwagon. A lot of people do that. WWE was a big one of doing that. Once Ronda Rousey became big in UFC, they're like, oh, we have women too. And you see it all over sports. Serena Williams was kicking ass in tennis, and then people were just like thinking, "Oh wow, women can do things." Yeah. So then it kind of loses the whole female empowerment thing when you're doing it for a bandwagon effect, which I think is what Ghostbusters did. I think they got on the wrong train with that.
Yeah, them and many others. They had the right idea, but they had the wrong execution of it.
I mean, it could have been done with an all-female cast. I'm not saying it couldn't have been, but I think the timing and how they did it and the people they got for the cast. God, Melissa McCarthy, Jesus, no. I have nothing against her. She's just, oh God, I can't. She's just not, I don't know. She's got a type of comedy that she's very annoying, and I think some people like that, but it doesn't fit in with everything, and this was a case of that. That's the best way I could describe that. But then you have someone like Kristen Wiig, who's amazing, so at everything. So it's like, I don't know. I guess
I don't keep up with pop much, so I actually didn't know any of the female cast, and I didn't really none of them. caught any interest for me. So that was
For me, I know Kristen Wiig the best as being the voice of Lola from the Looney Tunes show and the remake of the Looney Tunes show. And she, of course, she stole the show with that. So,
yeah.
but we're talking about canceled. You had said, movies and things that were canceled.
Yeah.
We have a canceled Star Wars game to discuss.
That was really hard. Well, I don't know. At first, I was looking at it, and it brought back old flashbacks of when they canceled the original Star Wars, when Disney first bought Star Wars rights, and they canceled that really big. It was supposed to be like a Mass Effect kind of Star Wars game. They canceled that, and I was really looking forward to it. Now this one I was watching, and it was a huge open world Star Wars game. And like you can explore all of the universe of Star Wars. Go to any of the planets. Go to Alderaan. Go to Dagobah.
You can play as a scoundrel or a bounty hunter, and work with different factions across the Star Wars universe.
Yep.
There was a lot of things that it looked like a big thing, but EA Vancouver was the one behind it. And so, what did they say the reason for canceling it? Besides, it wasn't very. I know they had said, "Oh well, it wasn't very far in development." But was there any other actual like?
There's only speculation that Disney themselves, they went in, they didn't really like it, so they told EA, scrap it, it's done. They don't want, like, I guess they wanted EA, or both EA is the business, the leaders of it are really like rush. They're all kind of we
they
want
got a
this
loot
done.
box it too, so
Yeah, they don't realize how long game development takes. So I guess they gave it this much time, and they saw how little was done, and they said, you know what, forget it, scrap it. You didn't do this much as what we wanted. I don't care if it'll be a good game. Get rid of it.
Well, the other thing that scares me a bit is when you talk about Disney and them wanting to scrap things. I think that might be a thing that we see a lot of going forward with any Disney-owned properties, because, as I've mentioned before, especially when it came to like things like Kingdom Hearts, Disney is very protective of their IP. They're very protective of how their image is portrayed.
Yeah.
And now that they own Star Wars, whereas something like this could have been amazing 10 years ago because of the endless possibilities, now it's going to be a lot more limited because at the end of the day, Disney owns the world and they get the final input. So
yeah. And plus, look at how they already, when Star Wars started getting a lot of hate on because they were really, really taking bad decisions with it. And it was the hardcore Star Wars fans all pulled out. And like comparing the revenue and all that from the 7, which had all the hardcore Star Wars fans, versus what 8 brought in, versus when everyone pulled out and how much hate they were getting. They canceled there was like 12 Star Wars movies they had planned out, and they canceled.
There was
all
so
of
much potential, and then Disney just did their thing, and I don't know. That's why I get nervous when I hear anything about Disney. Like they've mostly handled Marvel well, surprisingly.
To a point. There's some things, like Marvel was on a downfall for a while. I didn't really like any of the movies that were coming out until Infinity Wars was actually, it was hit or miss. It was a lot of really boring parts. Then it got a little good. Then it was like kind of boring. Then it was a lot of predictability. So Infinity Wars was up and down.
But I think for the most part, they're not messing with it too much to the point where, because they know how toxic, I want to say, that, Marvel fans can be. So
yeah.
So I think they're very cautious with, they know, everything that, Stan Lee had created as far as that goes is very iconic and very well cherished. So they don't want to do too much to damage that whole image as far as that, which is...
I will say you definitely see, with Joss Whedon out, his writing, the change, you see his writing left the Avengers, and you do see Disney's, like, what's the word I'm thinking for, when they do something and it's them who did it, kind of thing.
They Disneyfied it. I don't know the word. I know what you're going at with...
They do what they do in like all of their shows. They did it in Avengers.
They added that Disney fluff that...
yeah. Where they can't build one character up without belittling another character, type of thing.
So, in the next Marvel's movie, the next Avengers movie, you're going to have, like, Thor singing a song with Hulk about friendship and...
Well, it's not that bad yet.
And then for no reason, Elsa is gonna. She's got magic powers, so she's just gonna be an honorary member of the Avengers universe.
Yeah,
I probably just pissed off so many people just saying that, but no, I mean,
not
you
quite
could
there.
see it.
Yeah.
But so finally enough, I think, with that being said, we had one. Speaking of controversy,
The biggest controversial
think-
topic we'll probably have tonight.
and in general, we have Ubisoft. Ubisoft, which is not even really known for their controversy, but Assassin's Creed. Evidently, a lot of people are upset by choices that you make in the Assassin's Creed Odyssey
Yeah.
game. I forgot the name of it for a second. They all blend together for me. But as you know, in Assassin's Creed, you're going through flashbacks. Now, people were upset because evidently they had the option of having, same-sex relations, but then that didn't alter the outcome. And people were getting upset because the choices that they allegedly made had no impact on the story. So they were getting all upset about it. I would understand the frustration if the intended story flowed in that direction. Like if they were saying, oh, you can do this and it will actually affect this. But because of the whole ancestral thing and how passing the memories and all that,
Exactly.
you need to have a baby.
Let's see. A lot of people, like, I even saw comments where they were saying, I forget the character's name, but they were saying, well, when I play the game, I put myself in this role, the person, and I didn't want to be with this woman. My character didn't want to have a baby. And I was like, well, you're not really playing an interactive choice game. They give you that to have fun, but it's not really, it's a linear story-based game. You're kind of
so you could have a little bit of fun. They do it in all the games, the Elder Scrolls games, and a lot of.
Exactly. Yeah, you can choose who you want to marry and all that, but it changes the game not at all. It still follows the same path, the same line. But
see, my problem is I don't think the game would make sense if you could change your back, because then you'd go into a situation where you'd have to have several different stories going on. And that seems way too involved for Ubisoft to be like, well, we're gonna,
Yeah.
We gotta keep it simple.
Plus,
also,
it makes no sense if they jump into a same-sex marriage and they don't have a kid. Like people were saying, they didn't want their character to have the kid. Then the game wouldn't even work out because then you wouldn't be able to view the memory.
You wouldn't be seeing your memories because there would be no kid. But that's what I don't think people are understanding. I think people are taking it out of context in the way where they're not looking at it from the perspective of the story. They're just looking at it from the perspective of, hey, we want to be angry about something. And this is what we're going to be angry about.
That's true.
Now,
we call it the hate train going through.
Now, I would say there is nothing wrong with being upset about that particular choice, the way that they handle. But the backlash over it when it was not ever the intended situation for the story, I think is where people need to kind of back off a bit and be like, hey, this is, they're giving us this option, but it's not an option that's related to the story. And if you look at history too, around the time where this game's taking place, it was very common for the men to have same-sex relations with other men, and then the women were just used for reproduction. So that was a very common thing back in that time period.
Yeah,
so,
that was how times have changed from there. Not very much.
The game is staying historically accurate for the most part. I mean, there's some discrepancies, but it's staying historically accurate, and it's also staying true to its own story, which is also the same story, which is, canon with the rest of the Assassin's Creed games that all basically have the same kind of thing going on with the whole flashbacks and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's staying true to all of that. So
the sucky thing about it, though, is that it's only a small portion of people who are even mad about this. All the people who are big on, like, probably not even huge gamers. There might be some of them, but more of them are just there to get a movement going type of thing.
To incite it, yes.
Yeah,
because because a
not
lot
even
of
a
the gamers
huge.
I've talked, especially the gamers that I've talked to within the LGBT plus, whatever it's at now, community that I've talked to, I say that because I can say that. But no, a lot of them that I talked to, gay people, bi people, they felt like, hey, it was great to have that representation, which, as a person who's in that community, it is great for them to have that representation. I agree with that because
Yes,
they feel like they're included.
you're the
Not a bad
perfect
thing.
person to talk about it. Being part of that community, they can't hate on you for being, hey, you are prejudiced.
Exactly. But no, I'm just saying a lot of people in the community, they understood where the game was going. So I think, as you said, it was a lot of people who, from outside sources, who maybe they're not necessarily gamers, they're just people who,
Want to
you
start the
know,
movement.
they associate with the community, but they're not gamers, so they don't know what they're talking about. And it's kind of how things get twisted. And that's where that is. But yeah,
Yeah. And like I
I
was
don't think
saying,
Ubisoft should have issued an apology either. They issued
yeah,
I
I
thought
don't
was
think
kind
that
of
one.
I didn't think they needed to, honestly. As like I said, as you said, as I'm a person of that community, I felt they did. I wasn't offended. I mean, I was like, hey, it's great that there's those choices for
Yeah,
especially
it's still
younger
progressive.
people. Yeah, especially for the younger people who are like, hey, I'm different, but I could be represented in a game. That's cool for them, but it doesn't, necessarily mean that because they have that choice in the game that they still could understand that, there's a story that needs to be told within the game and it needs to be told within a certain way. So there's people who understand that, and then the people who don't took it too far.
Yeah, and
Which is
the
why.
sad thing is the people who like don't. There's only a few of them. There's not even a huge amount of them. I mean, there's enough to make like to get a little movement going, but it's not even the majority of the people. It's just they're so loud about it that that's what news gets out. But everywhere you see, it's all these people against them, and like, what? This is they're going way too far with this. And
And then that's where you get in a situation of things looking really bad for the people who do understand it, who do understand where the developers are coming. Because then the minority make the majority who understand what's going on look bad. And it doesn't just happen in, the LGBT, it happens in every kind of community, any kind of thing like that. When you have hardcore feminists who there are feminists who are making women's rights very crucial and very important, but then you have the hardcore ones who ruin it for the majority who understand what's going. It's like the same thing. I'm not trying to say anything negative about anyone. It's just each thing, each clique, each faction, whatever you want to call it, of life, they all have those bad few apples who kind of ruin it for everybody else and give the rest a bad name. So that's all I'm saying about that.
yeah,
Not a bad thing.
but with that
I mean, in this
topic,
situation, it's a bad thing. But I mean, I'm not saying
yeah,
anything negative. So that just to clarify,
yep.
I don't want people to write hate mail and saying you're doing this, you're
Well,
terrible.
no matter what route you'll get that.
True, true. Actually, speaking of hate mail, we have gotten hate mail. We have gotten. I have had people on Twitter who do like what we're doing with this podcast. So for those who have actually messaged me personally, I do appreciate it. I do appreciate your fan mail and all that, and everything that you guys have been saying that have been positive. Even no one's really said anything negative, but if they would, it's all welcome criticism, honestly. But we definitely appreciate our fans. So with that being said, I think it's important to say that, we do have a Facebook fan page. We are on Facebook. Like it, interact. We have had some interactions this week. It's great to see. We do have, some planned things for that you guys that are special, maybe some giveaways coming up, some exclusive Facebook content. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, use the hashtag GamerJesters. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but I just want to get this all out before our time ends up in just a minute here. So anything you want to add to anything before we close out?
No, that's pretty much all. Check us out. Come talk to us on either Facebook or Discord. Tweet at us at Twitter, and be sure to leave a like or comment.
All right, I think that wraps it up. I think we've touched upon a lot of things. We got a little heavy towards the end, so like I said, as a disclaimer, things that we say here were not meant to offend anyone or anything like that. So please don't twist anything or take it the wrong way. If you do, we'd be happy to discuss, things with you. So, but just a disclaimer because, it happens. But so thank you guys for listening. And this, this was a fun episode. We have plenty more planned for you this year. So
yeah, until
take
then,
it away.
See you guys next week. Have a good night.